Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Everything and Anything podcast with Sarah. Eid Mubarak to all of you and to all of your family and friends. I hope you are all having a wonderful Eid. This is a very special bonus episode that I have recorded with one of my good friends, Zainab. And in this episode, we are going to go through some sunnahs on the day of Eid and also just a little fun. What are we wearing on Eid? So I hope you enjoy, and let's get into it.
Let's get started, everyone. And to start off with, everyone, Eid Mubarak, a very, very happy, joyous, and wonderful Eid Mubarak to everyone who's listening. And Saru, thank you so much for having me on here. I feel so honored. This is my favorite podcast ever. And
Aww.
yeah, I'm so honored to be on here.
We are very honored to have you here, and you have some really big shoes to fill because you are the second bonus episode guest speaker that we have had on here, and he really set a high standard,
He did.
right? I know he really did. So let's get started with this episode, everyone. And Zainab, we have some sunnahs prepared for you guys on the day for the day of Eid, and we were wanting to share with them with you. So I will let Zainab start first and maybe introduce what Eid is to us.
It really is, I feel like, the best day of the year. The way we think of it from like previous discussions we've had, and it just Eid, the night before Eid, the day of Eid, the morning of Eid, it just there's the best feeling all around, whether it's meeting relatives or going to Eid Salah. So I thought just incorporating little acts of sunnah would be I feel like it would just make it a lot sweeter. So we both just sort of discussed which ones we would like to highlight today. And I think the first one that I'll start off with is the sunnah of visiting your relatives. Now, this may seem like a very sort of understandable, like, shouldn't we be doing that anyways? But then I feel like obviously everyone at some point experiences things in their life where they,
Dispute.
they have disputes or they just have not had the time or they live far away from each other. I think Eid is the perfect time to, you know, sort of mend that bond. And then even if there's no bond to mend, just, visit your relatives, maintain kinship in the best way that you can. Our religion focuses very highly on that. Even if you disagree on things, make sure that you have those ties maintained. Just remember all of your friends, all of your relatives in your Eid visits, because indeed there's lots of barakah in that. And then the second one that I wanted to highlight is also, since we're on the topic of visiting, for Eid Salah, you can take multiple routes, and just doing that can get you a lot of sawab as well. So when you're walking to the masjid or whether you're driving to the masjid, just make sure that the way that you're going is a different or slightly different way of than the one that you're taken to come back. So on the day of Eid, the Prophet ﷺ used to return offering the Eid prayer through a different way from that by which he went. The reasoning behind this is so that on the day of judgment, the two paths will testify that you attended the Salah. And then the last one that I wanted to share is the sunnah of wearing your best outfit or a new outfit if you can easily afford it. Now, the point is not to, make this a Met Gala, even though it ends up becoming one anyways,
He is
but
Met Gala every year.
a
Pop
Met
off,
Gala
everyone.
of the Ummah. Of course, we're just joking. Like, obviously, within limits, like not with like extreme overspending or anything like that. It's best to, stay simple. Absolutely. Like, put on your best outfit, put on some itter as well. That's also sunnah. And yeah, show up in your best fits to the masjid and just
Yeah.
hug each other, be happy. And yeah, with that, I'll pass it on to Sarah.
Thank you, Zainab, for those lovely sunnahs and guiding us through them. I wanted to touch on some points that you mentioned earlier, in specifically about visiting the relatives. And one thing I want to mention about this is that I think it's important to also include those that you might know that maybe live alone or don't have people around them. and like they don't have their families nearby, and to include them in your Eid celebrations too, so that everyone can enjoy. And with that as well, I think it's also important to try to go to the masjid, even if you, let's say you're not praying, and to join in on the celebration, because most of the times nowadays there is a lot of celebration that happens within the masjid in terms of just like stuff for the kids and free food, free desserts, free snacks, things of that nature. And so still joining in on the celebration and even just like listening to the khutbah and stuff, I think is an important part as well. And the sunnah that you mentioned for putting on your best clothes, I think there's a reason why it's not specifically mentioned to buy new clothes, but just to wear your best clothes, because Islam really does promote underconsumption and not overspending, like you mentioned. And I think going through what you already have and looking at stuff that maybe I think we do this a lot where like you buy clothes just, when you see them and you're like, okay, I'm going to wear this at some point, and using those clothes to wear rather than like going out of your way to try to get new clothes, even if you already have clothes that you haven't even worn yet. So I think that's also an important aspect too. But obviously, if you need to get new clothes or you have the means to get new clothes, then you should, and that will also beautify your Eid as well, I think. So some of the sunnahs for Eid that I had picked out was to give gifts on the day of Eid and to give gifts to your friends and your family. I think it's a nice way for them to also know that you were thinking about them. Obviously, there's also the concept of giving Eid, which is just giving money to little kids on the day of Eid. And then there's that moment where you realize that I have to be the one to give the kids Eid this Eid, and I'm not the kid that's receiving the Eid this time around.
Yeah, you're
Usually,
really
like, I
aged
get
when the switch up happens.
Throwback to when there was a time where my net worth would increase on the day of Eid, and now it's my net worth is decreasing on the day of Eid. But yes, I think if you have little kids around you and giving Eid to them is also a way to give them gifts. These days that the Prophet said to give gifts and you will love one another. And so give gifts to people and you will invoke love within each other. So Eid is the perfect time to give those gifts to people and to celebrate this special occasion that we have as well. The next Eid sunnah I want to focus on is to perform Eid Salah. It is a fundamental part of our Eid festivities, and I think I mentioned this before, but even going to Eid Salah, even if you can't pray, but just joining in on the celebration and as well as listening to the khutbah that is offered after the prayer, I think the Eid Salah is a good reminder for us to remember that our worship is to be continued even after the month of Ramadan and into the festivities as well. And I was actually thinking about this the other day where Islam is different than other religions in our festivities because we celebrate our accomplishments that we have done on the days of Eid. For example, either Fitr after Ramadan, we go through the entire month seeking closeness and forgiveness and doing all these acts of worship and really like putting in our 100 plus effort into the month, and then Eid comes at a time at the end of the month where we celebrate those efforts. And I don't know, I could be wrong, but I don't know if there's any other religions or cultures that celebrate individual accomplishments as well as the community accomplishments that happen in times like this. Either other happens after Hajj. And even if you're not going for Hajj yourself, but the time of Hajj, those 10 days, you are remembering Allah more. Sometimes people fast as well, and you are doing more acts of worship as well. And Eid al-Adha again comes as a time to celebrate those acts and to celebrate the worship of people for the ones that went to Hajj and the ones that were at home and did their best as well. So I think that was really interesting, and I think it's also really nice that we have something to look forward to and for us to celebrate for our accomplishments as well. The last sunnah that I want to focus on is to congratulate each other. On the Eid day, we often greet each other with Eid Mubarak, and so saying Eid Mubarak to your friends and family in the Eid prayer, saying Eid Mubarak to the person sitting next to you that you don't know, and even after you're done praying, like saying Eid Mubarak to strangers and everyone that is around you. There's a hadith that narrates that the Sahaba used to greet each other on the day of Eid, and they used to say Taqabballah minna wa minka, which means may Allah accept the fast and worship from us and from you. And so we should greet each other with this as well, or even just remind each other of this, that we want our fast and worship from this previous month to be accepted. And so to greet people with this dua so that our fasts and your fasts are also accepted. So those were our Eid sunnahs that we had prepared for you guys. We hope you enjoyed and learned something.
Yeah, I feel like these little things like make Eid so special. Just the feeling of community and the feeling of like, we got through this.
Mm-hmm.
And, like people joke about it, but like even morning coffee and, like getting to like put on your best outfit and see your loved ones and share gifts and share great food, while
Yeah.
obviously still being mindful and intentional with your actions. I also find it really interesting, like when I was a kid and back when like praying was not fard, it was interesting that, like at one point I found out you still have to pray on Eid. And then I was like, wait, even on Eid? And then my like elders or whoever was around me were like, yeah, even on Eid. Like, your duties don't stop because it's Eid. But that just goes
Yeah.
to show that, like every day is a celebration. And even though it's Eid, like, you have to, you're accountable, you have to like hold yourself accountable for, doing your due diligence and, maintaining good values. So inshallah, hopefully we can all do that with Eid, and also a reminder that all the good habits that we built through Ramadan, inshallah, we can maintain them on Eid day and every other day going forward as well.
Yes, that is such a good reminder that the good habits that we have built throughout this month of Ramadan stay with us, even if it's just one. But yeah, very good reminders. So, what are you wearing for Eid, Zainab?
Yeah, so actually it's so interesting that you spoke about underconsumption. This time around, I chose not to get a new outfit. I had still a new outfit, but it was from one of the outfits from when I got married. Sometimes you never get a chance to wear some. So I had one and I was like, okay, instead of buying like a new one, I'm just gonna make use of that one. So it is a new outfit, and it's a nice one, so hopefully I'll get the reward of the sunnah of wearing your best fit. So it's just shalwar kameez. It's not an abaya. I know all the girlies are might be wearing abaya this Eid, or I don't know, are we still wearing shalwar kameez, or is it like that new shalwar that came out? I don't even know what's going on at
Farsi
this point.
shalwar,
Yeah.
that one.
So yeah,
Yeah.
like everyone's been going crazy for some shalwar, and some people are still sticking to their abayas, but yeah, everyone's gonna look beautiful regardless. I'm just gonna pull up in my non-Farsi whatever shalwar. It's not that one, but it's just whatever was trendy like 2 years ago. And yeah, what about you? What are you wearing?
Yeah, I was gonna say also, I think this whole desi clothes versus abaya on Eid is such a cute little argument that happens every single Eid. I think on the one hand, like wearing desi clothes can be such a struggle sometimes as a hijabi as well when you're going to the masjid because you have to like hijabify it and modestify it, if that's the right word, which is so ironic because it's literally just shalwar kameez. And then, whereas like an abaya, you just, it's already kind of modest in that way. But I think there's nothing wrong with like wearing an abaya to the Eid namaz and then like changing afterwards. Obviously, like that's not feasible for everyone, so that's a whole thing. But then sometimes I feel like desi clothes also are low-key like high maintenance a little bit more than abayas are at the masjid. Like when you're trying to pray and your dupatta's like falling off on like one side and then there's just like so much going on and then your hijab is like on the other side and it's just like a whole thing. And then I don't know if this happens to anyone else or if it's just like a me thing, but like when you're going down into sujood and like your kameez or something like has beads or like embroidery work and it just like it like stabs you low key when you're like going to sajda and stuff. So it just turns into like a whole thing. But I think both are beautiful in their own ways and everyone should just wear what is their best clothes that they have for that Eid and yeah.
Honestly, the dupatta like falling off or flying off is a universal experience at this point.
I know.
So I can totally understand and the beadwork and all of that.
But I am wearing desi clothes this Eid. So yeah.
Yes, me too, honestly. Like, don't cancel us, guys.
Yeah, still pulling through with them. Still coming out with our desi fits. But yeah, with that, I think we will end off here. Eid Mubarak to everyone. I hope you all had a lovely time with your friends and family. You got to meet your relatives. You got to give Eid gifts. Got to go to Eid Salah, wear your best outfits and everything. And yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. And it
you're
was so
welcome.
much fun. It's always a great time talking to you and keep us in your duas, guys. And yeah, hopefully we can have more chats. I'm looking forward to the next episode and seeing more special guests. So,
Yes, inshallah. And thank you so much, Zainab, for coming on and talking to us about Eid. Such a lovely conversation. And yeah, bye.